Gardening takes on its own special meaning in southwest Oklahoma, and today we're at a farm just north of Mountain View and northeast of Godebo, Oklahoma, and we're going to find out a little bit more about this way of life. And joining me is humorist Captain Jack Parker. Welcome
Steve.
to Oklahoma Gardening.
Thank you.
Now tell us about your farm here, Jack.
Well, this farm, my mother and dad and I moved here about 35 years ago, and raised a few crops. My dad's always had another job to supplement this income, but we raised cotton, and then we raised some chickens, raised a little wheat, and just enough to help supplement us. It's where I grew up. It's where I learned most of my lessons of life, right here north of Godebo in Mountain View.
Well, one thing I've noticed, it seems like with farms like this, they always have a garden. But I mean, we're not talking just any garden. You have a big garden.
Sure, bigger must be better, we figured, but we do raise big gardens, and generally that is to eat. I mean, it is you raise it to can. You raise it to eat fresh vegetables, of course, during the summer. But we do have big gardens. What
are some of the things that you've already harvested here from a typical garden down here?
Cherries, of course, with the fruit trees. These sweet pickles, dill pickles. My mother has a special way with dill pickles, and my wife's always wanting that recipe, and she just says some miss and some mat. But the corn, we've already been able to get some corn. Here's a great mix of a soup mix, where my mother uses okra, corn, and tomatoes with a soup.
Now, one thing I've noticed interesting is when you're harvesting your fresh stuff, you have a little handy-dandy carrier there. Where did you come up with that?
Hey, I got this at a garage sale, believe it or not, and this is great. This is from the old swimming pools that you'd get your key and everything, and go. And this is great for harvesting, but then you have to have your key, Steve.
Right.
You keep that pinned on you won't be able to clean your
Wouldn't cost as much either.
That's right.
Now, would you say a basket like that carries a mess? You've got some description. Why don't you come over here and show us what you've got?
Generally speaking, a mess is a bunch of whatever. A mess, for instance, this mess is one for just a small family, maybe 3. It's a mess. Now, for the Catholic family down the road here, they 10 or 12. You know, this is a big mess. Okay. Now, this is a heck of a mess. Okay, so there's different kinds of messes.
Okay, so there's different ways to describe these vegetables here.
Sure. And
now, when you go out to harvest your mess of vegetables, it gets pretty hot. You have a handy-dandy water jug there.
This is evaporative. You know, you wrap a gunny sack around it and keep your water in there, and that'll keep it under a careless weed until you leave. And then, of course, you got to have your serious stuff too. Your hoe and your file are with you at all times. And then for the kids, if they're going to be out there all day, you've got an array of things that they usually have. Now, as a child, I remember these things. The girls would always have a doll, and but simple toys. These were kind of some really elite sort of things. Here in these marbles, especially a Steely, that was a sought-after thing. It's simple again. And here's an idea of a corn cob dart, and this is from a corn cob and 3 chicken feathers, and stick a couple of nails in there for the weight, and man, you can just, and hey, I'm easily entertained.
For a whole day.
For a whole day, and I tell you, you get out in that sun long, and it's easy to entertain. And one other thing that you will see, and you'll have some of the best ball players in the world come from around here, that's always time after the work to play a little baseball.
Now, like any gardener, you guys have pests, right? And
sure.
You've got something here
that bugs. We have a way to deal with them organically. The old Red Rider is generally the way to take care of them, and it's got him.
So you're a pretty good aim after hitting blister bugs too.
After a few thousand, we try to find all the BBs we can too after you shoot them.
To recycle them.
Sure, of course. And the old cotton sack. You don't see this old J.C. Penney cotton sack anymore. It's
a lot of history here now.
Mechanically.
Jack, too, you have your own terminology to describe the weather and all the different things down here. Share with us some of your terminology. Why don't you?
Weather, terminology, all these things are important. People come here from other regions and they're not quite sure what they heard. They think that, but fixin', that's a word, F-I-X-I-N, that is heard so often, and it means preparing to or is about to. Now, if the meteorologists tell us something and the Doppler radar shows some generation of, what do they have all that multi-million-dollar equipment for? To tell us what it's fixing to do. All right, very important to know in the garden. A future trend in the weather, be a bin. Now that's, for instance, you need to know when to plant your corn and how the weather might be a bin. Don't confuse that though with been a bin. That's a pasture. Like, are you going to plant it? Well, I'm not going to plant it if the weather might be a being like it's been a being, okay? But the weatherman says it's fixing to rain, so who knows? A ranch, that's something too. Some people get confused about a ranch. There's horse ranches, cattle ranches, monkey ranches. But ranches and wrenches can be the same thing. Or you can wrench your neck, or you can wrench off the shovel. Or the old wrench still lives next section to us over yonder too, my daddy says. And you also have farms. Don't confuse farms and ranches, because a farm is a smaller version, and F-A-R-M is a farm, and F-A-A-R-M is a weapon.
For blister beetles. So the terminology is very important, Jack.
Terminology is important.
Right.
It can confuse some people.
Well, you know, this has been very enjoyable to get to come down here, and we appreciate you inviting us, because history is very important in gardening too. There's a lot of interesting ideas, and it's nice that you're still capturing that, and I know you're available to go around and visit with people and share this history too.
I love to.
So we appreciate it. Thank you again.
It was great.